Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something for my Viking bag. If you didn't watch that video last week, you should definitely go check it out. I definitely tore my hands up hand stitching that entire thing. It was probably one of my favorite builds of the entire year, and I wanted to add something to it, but just kind of ran out of time. I wasn't anticipating that taking as long as it did, so I didn't get to finish this before we had our trip to the Ren Fair. So today I'm going to be making a water bottle, which doesn't in and of itself sound that impressive, but I am taking a gourd and turning it into a Korok from The Legend of Zelda. Now, if you're not familiar with the character, it's a cute little woodland creature, has like a leaf for a face. I'm going to make mine, but give him that Viking vibe that I wear typically to a Ren Fair. So without further ado, today we are making a Korok water bottle. Let's get to building. Last year, I saw these really cool gourd water bottles being sold at the Ren Fair for like $100 or $150. Knowing that I would customize mine, I couldn't justify the price and did a search online for them instead. And much like many of the things at the Ren Fair, the sticker price will definitely shock you a bit. I was able to pick up this one for about $30 on Amazon, and it even came with a cool keychain miniature version. The first thing I had to do was remove the cord that keeps the lid attached to the bottle. I'll make my own version of this later down the line, but right now it's getting in the way. Initially, I thought I could just untie it, but I inevitably had to cut it because I was going crazy trying to sausage finger untie this thing. My game plan was going to be pretty simple. I'm going to sculpt the shape I want of my Korok out of foil, hot glue it to the bottle, and then use some 2-part freeform air epoxy by Smooth On to sculpt over that. I took out the foil and began working my way around the gourd, first building around the middle to convert that into the neck of my Korok, and then added the arms and legs. His hands will be outstretched and his legs will be sitting in a position to kind of help stabilize the body when it's sitting on the ground. I hammer the foil with my scissors to compact the material, trying to keep things relatively symmetrical. Freeform air is a 2 equal parts epoxy mixture that can be a bit tricky to work with. It sticks to pretty much everything, so the application can be a little bit hard. Water or mold release can help a little bit, but what I have found works the best for me is to try and get the rough shape on first and let it sit for about an hour or so before refining the shape. The main reason that I like it is that it's super rigid once it cures, but doesn't add a whole lot of weight to the sculpture. It's extremely lightweight, literally can float coat on water when cured. I glove up, mix A and B together, then smear it across the gourd. I taped off the rim of the bottle so that I didn't have to chisel it off later. After it had been sitting for about an hour, I came back with a bowl of water and tried my best to smooth out the form that I had roughed in. The better job I do here, the less sanding I'll have to do later. It takes a really delicate touch to do this properly and not accidentally push in parts, which I did repeatedly. Eventually I got it to a shape that I was pleased with and let it sit overnight to fully cure. The handle time for this epoxy is about 2.5 hours and fully cures around 24 hours. The thicker it is, the quicker the kick. So if you're not careful, a mixed batch that's not applied can harden up on you pretty quick. In a rush, I tried to put down a layer of browns as a base coat and spray paint, so this next clip's going to be a bit confusing. Rushing to get it completed before we left for Ren Fair, I tried to paint it without sanding it. It's kind of hard to see imperfections on a matte white material, oftentimes until you put some paint on it to show the high points and the glossiness. I did not like how it looked, so after our trip, since I didn't finish this, I sanded back down the brown off and smoothed out most of the surface, then went with a gray primer instead. I figured he would stand out a little bit more because the color palette around him is going to be mostly browns and greens. I mixed up a lighter gray, then my primer, and hand painted on uneven two-tone patterns that most of the Koroks in The Legend of Zelda have, specifically using Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as my reference images. With my base colors down, now all I need to do is add his little leaf face. They all wear these cute leaf masks with holes cut in them, and a majority of them have a little nose that sticks through it. I didn't want a small little piece that could easily break off on mine that's going to be dangling on the back of my bag to snap off. So we're going to say that my guy has a very small nose that fits under his leaf flap, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. I had a small piece of leather left over from the bag that I made. The leaf flap out of, and I thought it would only be fitting to try and incorporate similar materials on my Korok to make the bag and the bottle cohesive. I drew a little design with my hobby knife, cut it out, painted where the holes were going to lie on my sculpture, and then roughed up the area around it to super glue the leather to so that it didn't peel off with a paint layer. To make my little guy attached to my bag, I'm going to need a similar string like the bottle had at the beginning. But after thinking about it for a while, I thought it would be much more fun to make a miniature warrior belt like the one that my Viking Link cosplay has that I usually wear to the Ren Fair. I used some buckles and leftover materials that I had for the bag build, as well as a little piece of fur from my original Link costume, and began constructing a miniature belt. I riveted on the push rivets with a pair of pliers because I couldn't find the little punch that came with it, and I added some D-rings where I thought the front would be, along with some flower embellishments to the middle off camera. Now the thought was to accessorize his belt with stuff. Using some thin copper wire and an array of beads, I began making him some miniature fairy trinkets. At the Texas Ren Fair, there's this nice little walk area off to one side of the grounds that goes around a tiny river. It has benches and statues that you can get away from the busyness of the festival. I really look forward to this part of our trip as I get a bit overwhelmed in large crowds and have on occasion been known to have panic attacks. A tradition in these gardens is to leave little trinkets like fairies had left them for people to find amongst the leaves in the pathways. A fun little handmade tiny bit scattered all over the place. I also went ahead and twisted the copper into a little Viking armband or barger, torque, oath ring, or a number of other names that it goes by. The little metal bracelet Vikings wore. Unfortunately, I did not get a video of the tiny drinking horn as my battery died without me noticing it. You'll see it in the next clip. The last thing that I added was this band that connects to the lid so that I don't lose it. I just threaded various beads again onto it to add some flair. To actually strap him to my bag, I just made a leather weapon frog or a holster. It's just a little piece of leather that loops around the belt. I put eyelets on the end of mine so that I could use a large carabiner to easily remove it if I wanted to. And with that, my Korok is finally finished and ready to go on my next Ren Fair adventure. I hope you enjoyed this build, and let me know if you're trying to sculpt out a gourd yourself. I'd love to see variations of this from people to see what you come up with. And we are finished. Here is the end result. I love this water bottle. I think it's awesome. I love that his little warrior belt kind of matches mine a little bit. He's got little trinkets to leave at the fairy garden. And I didn't show you this, but he came with a little baby. This was like one of those weird little gifts that sometimes you get in packages, and it was just a miniature version of the gourd. So I made a little baby version of it, and my plan is next year when I go to Ren Fair, if I see another Link kid somewhere, they're going to get the baby version. So yeah, maybe you will try and make something yourself to fit your costume and run out of time and have to spend all the time you need to make it just right after. Yeah, maybe you'll get some. Yay! And inevitably they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them much props. Got to attach them to the bag and let them kind of roam around. Yaha. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and you want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.